Welcome to the Church School program of Grace United Methodist Church in Winfield. We've been at this for almost 3 years, and we're starting a new subject and theme as we begin the new year, this coming Sunday being January 1st. I started this journey by saying we need to deal with the church. We talk about the church all the time. And I got on the critical side of what's wrong with the church and realized there's been hundreds of books written about what's wrong with the church, when the church gets it wrong. And I got tired of that quickly, and I decided, the church has been around for a couple thousand years, well, 1,700 years, so the church must have got it right sometimes. So we're going to enter the journey for a few weeks in looking at the characteristics of the church when the church gets it right rather than wrong. Now, to enable this journey to be one that we work on together, you need to understand my definition of the church first, and then my criteria for determining when the church gets it right. So first of all, my definition of the church, quote, "It is the human endeavor to ordain, put in place, and organize the followers of Jesus." End of quote. What I'm saying in that is the church is a human endeavor. There's no prescription for the church in our Christian library that we refer to as the Bible. The church didn't even start to put itself in place or organize until 300 years after the death of Jesus. And so the church is a human endeavor to ordain and organize the followers of Jesus. Now, if that's what my opinion the church is, then it's my criteria to determine when the church gets it right. And that is when the revelation of agape love, sacrificial and empathetic love in the life and teachings of Jesus governs the church. Agape love is behavioral. It has to do with attitudes and actions. And when the church gets it right is when its actions and attitudes reflect agape love. I've got to include the reference from a famous person in the United States history by the name of Abraham Lincoln. For to my knowledge, he was the one that at least made famous, if he didn't coin the statement, quote, "My concern is not whether God is on our side. My greatest concern is whether or not we were on God's side." God's side is the side of agape love. And so my journey with you in these weeks is to consider when the church gets it right. This human endeavor gets it right when we are on the side of agape love. And so this first week, I want to pick up the first characteristic that we're going to explore together. And I want to begin with the earliest picture of the followers of Jesus. It's the 5th book in our Christian library. It's called the Acts of the Apostles. And the church gets it right when we understand that we are the apostles. And the apostles, the meaning of that word are the sent ones. So a good translation of the title of that book would be the acts, the actions of the sent ones. The church gets it right when it understands itself to be sent into the world to serve. The book is not entitled The Acts of the Chosen Ones, The Actions of the Clean Ones, The Acts of the Pure Ones, The Acts of the Called Ones. It's the Acts of the Sent Ones. The followers of Jesus are those who are sent. I became convinced of that early in my ministry. I attended a seminar led by a pastor of a congregation in Washington, D.C. Participation in this congregation was marked by every participant being sent into the world in a specific named journey, never alone, always with 1, 2, or 3 others. In the name of that congregation, they were sent into the world. Sent to take agape love into the community where they lived. The total congregation, when it gathered, would be informed of the destination of the twosome or the threesome. The congregation heard each other's stories of disappointment and fulfillment in their journey. Stories of young disciples taking agape love into the lunchroom of their school, where the behavior, they said, lacked any sense of love. Or for adults to take agape love into their neighborhood, a neighborhood where no one knew each other's name. Story after story in that congregation were the acts of the sent ones. Now, John Wesley, the founder of the Methodist movement, preached on many occasions on the theme of the world is our parish. Now, the parish to which he referred was not an ambiguous location across the water somewhere. No, when he preached those sermons, he talked about next door neighborhoods, the neighborhoods where people lived. That was the world, which is the church's parish, where persons lived and where persons worked. You see, it's my opinion that throughout church history and in 2022, or now 2023, it's my opinion that the church gets it right when our self-understanding is that to be faithful followers of Jesus, participants are sent by the church to act in agape love where we work, live, and play with others. Often the church tries to exist as those who are called, those who are chosen, those who are clean, those who are pure. When this occurs, the momentum in the journey of faith is inward, directed to ourselves, clean, chosen, called, pure. But when the church is captured by sentness and has the characteristic of being sent, the momentum of agape love is outward. The energy of the church is not towards itself. The energy of the church flows out of the church to others. You see, the church gets it right when we are apostles, sent into the world with our attitudes and actions woven together by agape love. I preached west of Wichita Falls one morning, and it was an exciting place to be. And this young boy, probably I'm guessing 4 or 5, kindergarten age maybe. At the greeting after the service, this young boy came and looked at me, and I always squatted down so I could be eye to eye with children. And I squatted down, and he said, "Preacher, what do you want me to do this week?" Caught me by surprise. I paused and gave him an answer. And then I found out later that every Sunday morning in the children's sermon, Bill, the pastor of that church, gave an assignment of what the children could do that week in the name of Jesus. Give a special person a hug, give a present, an everyday present to someone that they didn't know. But every week, Bill gave the children something to do, being sent by the community of faith into the world to serve. That, my friends, is what the characteristic of sentness is all about, where the flow of energy is not into the fellowship of believers, but from the fellowship of believers into God's world. Sentness is one characteristic when the church gets it right. Now for our thought and conversation. First of all, what's your response to the understanding that the church is a human endeavor and therefore can be wrong or right? Secondly, what's your response to the understanding that the criteria for determining faithful fellowship of Jesus is whether or not the attitudes and actions reflect and exhibit agape love? Thirdly, what are your personal stories or stories of others being sent to serve by the community of faith? And finally, how would congregational life be changed if its life was characterized by setness? Thank you for being a part of this journey with us together.